I don't know how to start this, but I'll try. My brother was in film club when we were in high school, and after lots of begging, I was too. We were assigned once to make an animation. When we came home that day, my brother was acting strange and said in a low voice that he needed to start on his animation immediately. He went upstairs to his room without any further conversation, and he stayed in his room almost the entire week, leaving to only use the bathroom, eat, and go to school. I was worried, and so were our parents, but we decided to leave him alone. I still wonder to this day why we decided to do that. About 3 or 4 days before the animation was due, he was finished. I asked to see it, but he said no, even when I offered to let him see mine. He said that it was a surprise for everyone in film club. Then he smiled at me, the creepiest smile I've ever seen. Then came the day the animations were due. There were about 6 kids in film club, including my brother and I, and since we were asked by the club director, each of us brought one friend. My brother asked to go last, saying that his was too long to show at the beginning. A lot of animations were funny and a few were abstract. Then there came my brother's. The animation started with some static, which cleared to a white screen. Everyone inched closer, seeing that the best was obviously saved for last. Boy, were they wrong. The white faded to something I faintly recognized, a screenshot of an opening title card from Little Bear, a show we used to watch when we were kids. Then the title appeared, which read in very crude handwriting, Little Bear and the Big Red Book. The animation started like a normal Little Bear episode. Little Bear was out in the yard playing fisherman. Then he stopped and said that he wondered if Father Bear would like to go fishing the next day. He ran inside to ask. Father Bear was sitting at the table, a big red book open before him. Father Bear looked very sad and somewhat angry. Little Bear did not notice and asked Father Bear the question he wanted to ask him. Father Bear gave no response but stood up and walked out of the house without a word. Little Bear looked disappointed for a second, then climbed into Father Bear's chair and began to read the red book. A voice that wasn't Little Bear's, or anyone in the shows for that matter, started to read disturbing poems. As the voice read on, Little Bear got more and more depressed looking. Everything except the book slowly faded to grayscale, and the voice got more and more high-pitched. The club director tried to shut down the projector, but something was wrong. Suddenly, everything stopped, and it cut to Mother Bear tucking Little Bear into bed. Little Bear looked extremely shocked, with a blank expression staring at us. His eyes were extremely bloodshot, and his fur was all mangled. The whole scene, except Mother Bear and Little Bear, was hyper-realistic. Mother Bear turned off the light and left the room, and Little Bear started to sing slowly as the room got more and more dark. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. My Bonnie lies over the sea. My Bonnie lies over the ocean. Oh, bring back my Bonnie to me. A pair of red eyes appeared above Little Bear, and a terrifying laugh played. Then what looked like some monstrosity of a creature jumped onto Little Bear. The entire screen cut to white, then it slowly faded to a montage of different scenes of running water. A little boy's voice, joined by my brother's, was singing the same song Little Bear was singing, but with the added lyrics. Bring back my Bonnie, bring back my Bonnie, bring back my Bonnie to me, to me. Bring back my Bonnie. Bring back my Bonnie. Bring back my Bonnie to me. Then it faded to a picture of me when I was a child, standing next to a grave with my mother's name on it and a picture of her under it. And mind you, my mother is still alive today. The screen then cut to black and the projector finally shut down. That was the end of it. Everyone was shocked. The club director asked everyone to leave except my brother. My best friend and I went to my house to discuss the movie. I don't know how or where he got that picture of me standing next to my mom's grave, I had told him. He looked at me confused. No, he said. That picture was of me standing next to my mom's grave. We were both freaked out. We asked my friend's parents if we could spend the night, to which they said yes. We spent the rest of the night talking about the movie, and the next day was Saturday. My mother told us that my brother had been arrested. The Monday we came back to school, we found out during an assembly that the other 4 kids in film club and the other 5 kids that were visiting committed suicide after killing their mothers, and that the film club director quit. When I came home that day, I found that my brother was put in jail because he had been charged with 18 accounts of murder and 1 account of public disturbance. He will never be let out. I decided to keep this a secret for so long, but now I'm afraid that I have to let it out. Someone found that animation and has put it on the internet on an unknown website under the title Little Bear in the Big Red Book, Never Before Seen Episode, in some sick hope that it will traumatize little children. If you find it, please contact the website immediately and have it taken down. Thank you for taking the time to read this. That was Little Bear in the Big Red Book, and it is unknown who wrote this story. All that I know is that this was posted on the Creepypasta wiki at some point, and it was taken down shortly after the spin-off appeal rules were put down. So, review time. So, I'm going to be completely honest. The original review that I had for this story recorded, I didn't like it because I was continuously stuttering throughout. And I was like way too confused. So I had to give the story a second read, and even so, in the end, I still didn't get it. First off, I want to point out that this is kind of cliched, like with the parts of, say, Little Bear with the bloodshot eyes suddenly out of nowhere going crazy in the next jump cut after reading a book which is implied to have a bunch of stupid poems in it. And I did get a comment from Dibbing Sauce, my bad, from Dibbing Sauce, explaining that, like, his theory is that these are all incantations, spells that summoned a demon in his room. And even so, how would Little Bear even have known that those were incantations in the book? Like, did it take him an entire day to realize that it was a curse? Like, personally, what I would have done is I would have taken, like, let's just say, if I were to write the story, I would have taken that part where it jump cuts to him in the bedroom, getting tucked in by his mother, and give him a more worried, just sort of disappointed look, rather than instantly making him go nuts. And I would make him sort of lose his mind upon realizing that there's a monster in his room. Maybe upon realizing there's a monster there, then he would begin singing. Dipping Sauce also mentioned to me that maybe Little Bear was singing that song as a way to comfort himself. Even then, why that song? Out of all the songs, why My Bonnie? Is it supposed to be symbolistic? Speaking of symbolism, why does it suddenly cut to videos of running water? Like, I can't think of a single. How do I say? I can't think of a single. What's the word? Um, link. There's no link if that is supposed to be symbolic. Is like, does the running water have to do with the monster that showed up in his room? Speaking of the monster, that's kind of a really childish climax for the story. Like, oh, a monster showed up and jumped on Little Bear. Ah, like it kind of makes me feel like this story was written by a kid because that's a very simplistic climax. The story does have a build up in the beginning though, explaining what exactly was going on between the protagonist and his brother and his family and all that. But that doesn't really fix the tropes that are brought up in this story, as well as the really confusing ending. In the last time I reviewed this, I brought up Suicide Mouse because in that story, it's a mysterious little animation. No one knows who made it, but it looks like it could be made by a devilish entity. Um, hence why like the said Disney employee sort of lost it and blew his brains out after watching the video. That makes sense because well, it's unknown who made that animation. It could be made by the devil for all we know. However, in this story, this is simply some guy's random art project that he made out of pure God, I don't want this to turn out like the last time I reviewed this. Deprivation, tiredness. Yet, simply watching this animation convinced every single person in that classroom to commit murder. I don't see how that adds up. Like even then, why didn't the protagonist and his friend face the same problem? Like I get it. They both saw the animation themselves, but like how can this protagonist's mother still be alive after not only did an entire classroom of people suddenly get convinced into killing their mothers and themselves, but how is the mother still alive when the brother went out of his way to commit 18 counts of murder? Yeah. Does it possess a specific amount of people? Last but not least, I want to label a few other things. There is a hyperrealism cliche in there that is just thrown in for no reason. And one good thing I will mention is that this does have good grammar, better grammar than trypophobia, I'll say. Um, as much as this story tries to be mysterious, it doesn't make sense to me. Like, even after Dribbing Sauce, not Dribbing, I keep getting his name wrong. Dibbing Sauce explained to me what exactly he thought the story was about. It was quite a plausible theory, but I still didn't get it. And these are my reasons why. So, my final rating will have to be a 4. It did have a build up, and the grammar was much better than I expected, but it didn't make sense, and it it had me lost by the end. The ending was the worst part of the entire story. I'm going to be completely real. You all already know why. But as I said before, this is simply my own personal opinion. And if you like this story, that's fine. We all have our opinions regarding these creepypastas. What did you think of the creepypasta? How would you improve upon it if you were the one who wrote it? And as always, I will see you all in the next narration. Take care. Bless.